My name is Jeff Morgan. I am here with Dad Talk today, and Mark Esquibel. You came in from Santa Cruz, California to CPAC in Dallas, Texas.
Yes, first time.
It is good to meet you again. So tell us a little bit about what you do in California.
Well, we started a coalition based on the need and necessity for court corruption.
And the need for court corruption, or
the need to fight. Sorry, the need to fight court corruption.
We need no more court corruption.
No more court corruption. Sorry, misspoke. Long day. Long day. Power just went out, and now we're finally getting the AC back on. So the heat's getting to me. And what we noticed is that the government has three opportunities to insert itself into your life. One, via CPS when you're newly born, and if you have an open case, the government will insert themselves into your family, and it's incentivized. Two, during divorce, when you break up and they create a conflict, and the government inserts themselves into your life during divorce, and it's incentivized.
It's incentivized.
And three, guardianship when you get older and you get sick, and they can come in and take everything that you've worked for, your assets, cut you off from your family, and just milk your entire fortune.
Right.
So recognizing those three aspects, a co-founder of mine, Marika Taylor, she actually had her son kidnapped and trafficked from Canada. She's a Canadian resident.
Okay.
And she was living up there for 3 years. She was married to a gentleman from LA. And Judge Tamara Hall, when they got a divorce, ordered the kid out of Canada and down to LA to live with the father, with no jurisdiction.
So, oh, well, that's not unusual, is it?
So basically, no jurisdiction. I'm making this order and kidnap the child down to LA. The child doesn't live, Hunter doesn't live in LA. He actually lives in San Diego with the girlfriend. So that's just a singular story, and we literally get these stories every single day.
So
we hear them every single day.
So what you're saying is this is not just isolated cases. This is more symptomatic of a widespread issue.
This is a pattern and practice, which, if you're going to prove, corruption in government actions, state actors, you have to prove a pattern of practice. Mm-hmm. Well, we get those calls every day that prove that pattern of practice, and it's not only is it sad, but it's scary because some people may not have resources.
Right.
If you're in California, not too many people know what a 388 motion is.
Okay, tell us what that is.
So a 388 motion is to close your case with CPS. So CPS opens up a case with you. They make you jump through all these hoops. You got to get into a parenting program. Some people they're made to do drug testing, and you have to fill out all these forms and check in with your CPS agent like you're a convicted criminal, like a parolee would have to do. That's an actual felon,
right?
And sometimes has to wear an ankle bracelet. You're doing this based on what? Based on some assumed threat that CPS says you're a bad parent.
And often it's an anonymous report made by somebody with no proof or anything. Just it's an allegation.
It could be your neighbor.
Right.
You could end up in a CPS case because your neighbor said, oh, the child got away from the parent and ran outside.
Yeah. Well, it can also be because this is also a tactic that you sometimes see in divorce, where one spouse will file a CPS complaint against another spouse. No proof, but the moment that that's filed, that person has an advantage in divorce as far as custody concerns.
Yes, and false accusations are huge, simply because they're used so often in court cases to gain control. Right. And when you have the judges and you have the attorneys and you have therapists and all of them involved, because they're there for billable hours, they're going to milk that conflict. So if they can get somebody to come into court and actually lie, a preponderance of evidence, if you can believe this, a lie is a false fact in family court. Preponderance of evidence. It's a false fact.
But the false part is kind of like scratched out.
Yeah, you put a red line, like your teacher's highlighting your English paper. False fact. Well, let's scratch out the false because we're going to take it as fact now to use to make you a visitor.
Yeah. So perjury is common in family courts.
Almost daily. So if you have, let's say you have 20 people coming in a day to court, 10 of them are walking out because somebody accused them falsely of something they didn't do, which then allows the state to step in and strip your right to be a parent, which is every parent's right. And just say, you're going to prove to me I'm a complete stranger. I may have met your child for an hour, but I'm going to now tell you when and where you can be around your child.
Right. And you say you get daily calls, and I'm making an assumption, maybe I'm wrong. Probably there are a lot of more people that would call you if they knew that you existed as an organization.
Yes, we've only been around for a year. Marika and I met last year. She's out of LA County. I'm out of Santa Cruz County. We have literally populated every state, 12 provinces in Canada, and 6 countries in less than a year. So if that tells you, I mean, we're in the UK, we're in Australia, India. There's a huge group of people being brought over from India, married, their dowries, their jewelry stolen, and then just sent back before they even get their visa.
So I was listening to a financial crimes conference that I participated in as a listener, and they were talking about the aspect of human smuggling and trafficking and stuff like that. I made a comment. Now remember, this is a financial crimes conference, but being as they were talking about trafficking and everything, I just asked the question that said, has there been any research, or will you say anything about governmental trafficking? And by which I meant CPS trafficking your children, the courts trafficking your children, foster care trafficking your children. And the guy, when I asked the question, I wasn't sure how I was going to be taken, if they were going to laugh at me or whatever. He acknowledged it as being a very serious issue, but just stated that he did not have the data behind it. So this whole thing, it's interesting to me that the very states that say that we're fighting human trafficking are participating and enabling and facilitating human trafficking, and they're calling this the best interest of the child or something like that.
They're doing it in 2 forms. So one, they're doing it through foster care. And the kid gets lost in the system, and between 14 and 18, because they're being abused in the system, the child's fight or flight just kicks in. They leave, so now they're on the street. So now they're easily trafficked by the human traffickers. And the other part of trafficking that I call is the illegal snatch and seizure of kids from hospitals and immediately fostered out to rich people. And I'll give you a prime example. One of our admins, she'll remain nameless, but her grandchild was fostered out to the director of a very prominent college in California. Nobody in the family has seen him in, I think it's 7 or 8 years now. And it was all based on money. She was a government employee, had all the credentials. She has 2 adopted children currently right now. But she cannot see her grandson because these 2 rich people paid somebody off and were able to get her grandson away from her daughter. And that doesn't make any sense, because familiar association is your constitutional right. So if one parent is faltering or the other, it should immediately go to the next of kin. So either a grandparent, an aunt and uncle, even a cousin, but to a complete stranger. No blood relation whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense. Then there's the scientific part. What if you need a blood transfusion? What if you need to see if there's any genetic, defect down the line medically?
With no medical history.
No medical history. It's just boggles the mind.
So Jeffrey Rogers, he is the CEO of the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. I remember reading something that he wrote, and I called up the Institute. I couldn't speak to him directly, but I spoke to one of his secretaries or administrative people. But the quote that he said is that of the people that they find in human trafficking, that at least 65% of them have come from a foster care situation. And I said, is this true? Because there's a very small number of people in the foster care relative to the entire population. So when you have this number making up 65% of the recovered victims of human trafficking, it tells you what? There is a problem with foster care.
Yeah.